today. Big news from SCOTUS, and the Biden administration withdraws their vaccine mandate. We've got all that and much more coming up, and it all starts right now. Hey, welcome to the Tundra, also known as the News and Why It Matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez. We've got a full table today, so it should be a fun one. I am joined today by Savanah Hernandez, producer from Slightly Offensive, and also our resident man on the street, which we'll get into later. She was at the Defeat the Mandate rally in D.C., got some incredible footage there, so I can't wait to get into that.
It's going to be fun. Yeah. I can't wait.
It's going to be fun to go over. I'm not sure how much fun it was for you at the time.
Oh, it was a lot of fun. We'll watch the footage. We'll all have fun watching this footage.
Okay, good. Also joined by Jason Buttrell, chief researcher of the Glenn Beck program. Back with us again, double dose this week. And also the lovely Carol Roth, author of The War on Small Business, and we're so happy to have you back. Really sorry, you're from Chicago, right?
I am, so this is super warm down
here.
It's
like
-6 this morning in Chicago, so, it doesn't matter if it's only 30 degrees in this studio. I was feeling like home.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like usually people escape Chicago to come here, and they're like, wow, it feels way warmer. Right now in this studio, I'm like, I don't see the difference between this and -6, so I don't know.
Carol's sweating. She don't know what you're talking about.
You're taking off clothes later in the show.
Balmy, it's fine. All right, so news from SCOTUS. Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer is retiring. This was reported as breaking news just earlier this afternoon. And it's interesting. This is, of course, he was Clinton nominated, one of only three liberal, they say three liberal justices on the Supreme Court, but I'd like to count John Roberts as a liberal. Yes, as a liberal these days. So it's him, Sotomayor, and Elena Kagan. He spent more than 27 years on the Supreme Court and now has decided, I think the idea here is not to pull a Ginsburg. Right? They saw what happened with Ginsburg, waited until the last second, and it didn't work out well for them. And so there have been some conflicting reports that have been coming out that Breyer was very upset that the news was not supposed to be announced today, that he did not know that this was going to be announced today. So you got to wonder how that shook out. But now this, of course, has progressives on the hunt for a Supreme Court nominee who checks off all of the intersectionality boxes. You have progressives now demanding that Joe Biden pick a Supreme Court nominee based on sex and race, just as he did with Vice President. But you can't blame them because Joe Biden actually already said he would do this. This was in, I believe this was 2020 in one of his debates. Here's February 2020, Joe Biden.
We talked about the Supreme Court. I'm looking forward to making sure there's a black woman on the Supreme Court to make sure we, in fact, get every representation. Not a joke. Not a joke. I pushed very hard for that.
Not a joke.
My mother's motto was, she said, you're defined by your courage, you're redeemed by your loyalty. I am loyal. I do what I say.
He's loyal to everyone but America. Let's be honest.
It's true. He's loyal to all the people he shouldn't be loyal to. Yeah.
I'm upset, though, if it's going to be a black woman, that's going to take Corn Pop out of the running. Oh, and I was hoping, he was a bad dude, but I was hoping that maybe he could get a resurgence.
Yeah, I know. I think we're all hoping for Corn Pop rather than what we're actually dealing with.
I hate to be, there's a lone white dude that's like, he's just because they had to, they put him on the list, and he's sitting there
Merrick Garland.
Come on. Yeah, he's like, guys, this sucks. He's just going to go to the beach for the next 6 months because he knows he's not the pick anyway. Isn't America grand? It's like, if you work hard, if you put those extra hours in, while you're a single parent, your sweat and the blood, you can do anything you want.
Unless
you're the wrong.
Right.
But this is really showing the cards that they're not feeling really great about the midterm elections, right? If they felt like this was solid, Breyer could have collected a check for at least another couple months, maybe 6, maybe a year. Now he has to go into the early retirement at the young age of 83.
Yeah. What was the latest poll showed that, so this is the best barometer too. The latest poll showed that independents are, I think, at 36% favorability on Joe Biden. 36%.
Who are those 36% of independents?
I don't know.
You gotta wonder.
But that says it all. If things continue the way they are now, Unless, I don't know, there's some dog wagging and Biden has to save Ukraine from Russia or something like that, or give the appearance that maybe something like that could pull his numbers up.
And ice
I'm
cream
hinting around a
social
lot.
with Russia.
Yeah, I don't know, something like that.
Together.
But and barring something like that, he's losing.
Yeah.
And they know it.
Yeah, Savanah, what are your thoughts?
Just regarding this pick today and regarding, I guess, that it's going to be a black woman who's going to be at the forefront, my favorite question that's been posed is, Joe Biden, what is a woman? To the left, to the liberals, what is a woman? Because, of course, everyone always poses that question because the left has no idea. But I basically said, if this is the base qualification for a Supreme Court nominee, black and woman, just burn the whole country down at this point. There's nothing left for us. There really isn't.
Yeah, so there, one of the Twitter accounts, I've never heard of this, but apparently this is a very prominent, She Will Rise, a very prominent Twitter account for black women. It says, for decades, we have watched as mostly white men on SCOTUS deny black communities our most basic civil rights because they don't equally value our needs. Justice Breyer's retirement paves the way for the first black woman justice in our nation's history. So I love that low-key, they're actually crapping all over Justice Breyer at the same time.
They're like, look, we know you're a liberal, but also you weren't a black woman. So that takes you out of the running entirely.
They're like, white men have denied black communities our most basic civil rights because they don't equally value our needs. You mentioned what is a woman, right? You want to ask them that. I would also like to ask them, what civil rights are they lacking at this point? Please, someone tell me anything.
Voting rights, Sarah. They can't explain how, but somehow that's one of them.
They're not allowed to be offered water, and so you're taking away their civil rights?
I would like to ask them, what's in the Constitution? That's the thing. If you're going to be nominated to the Supreme Court, that's really the only question that I want someone to be really, really solid on. Everything else is, just sort of extra glitter and sparkle to the whole thing.
Well, what's in the Constitution, and will you uphold it?
Right. That's fair enough, because they just know.
Right.
That reminds me of Clarence Thomas when they were talking about the abortion debate. Is he asked? He's like, look, if this was a gun issue, this is a first. I would know exactly what to look for because it's in the Constitution.
Right.
So show me about abortion. Where is that in the Constitution? And speaking of Clarence Thomas, if I'm just waiting for him to pull the troll of trolls and just identify as a woman and say conservatives beat you can't do it, it's already been done.
Clarence Thomas is the best Supreme Court justice.
amazing.
We should just make the Supreme Court Clarence Thomas. That's it.
Signed.
Everyone else, it's like, Kavanaugh was a little bit of a disappointment with his ruling on the OSHA mandates. John Roberts, like Sarah said, kind of more of a liberal anyway. Let's just give it all to Clarence.
I'm a Gorsuch fan.
I'm signed.
Are you?
Yeah, I think he's done a pretty good job.
Yeah, he's been pretty.
I think he's been solid.
Yeah.
Who?
He made me Gorsuch.
Yeah.
He made me a little nervous initially. Certainly, he's better than Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
I would say that.
Yeah.
Well, Kavanaugh, this was so ridiculous. He was always a swing vote person.
And at the time, we said that, right? At the time, we were like, look at his record. He's not very solid on all of these points that, if you're a staunch conservative, you should be a little bit worried about this.
Yeah.
But we got so wrapped up in the fight between the liberals just completely upending this guy's entire life.
That's all it was. We
I know.
defended his character assassination.
I know.
Not because we thought he was the epitome of conservative values and a strong, staunch constitutionalist.
Well,
He
I'm
was being
an
assassinated.
independent, and I'm disappointed. So I'm not even, I'm in that middle category, and even I'm like, okay.
Yeah. So obviously, look, you're the author of a book called The War on Small Business.
Yes.
So I would say the economy has been your biggest complaint, maybe?
Anything that's around individual rights and erosions of rights, kind of hits me right there.
Yeah.
But certainly decentralization versus centralized power, which plays out in economic ways and all kinds of other ways. It's all very, very interrelated, and we always follow the money. So while it's yes, it's about the economy, but it's also more broadly about individual rights.
Yeah, because it really is all encompassing, especially the last couple years with individual rights. And you're looking at what happened in Virginia with the new governor now because of how they treated the parents of the schools or of the children that went to the schools. And now we're seeing those schools actually doubled down on what brought the new governor in to begin with, which was, I just read yesterday, they were suspending children who tried to enter the school without a mask. And even though the governor had signed an executive order allowing the children to do that, they were calling the police on people. These people are not well.
No.
Did you see the clip, though, Sarah, of the mass group of high schoolers who walked into their high school without face masks to stand up for their rights and say, you know what, we're not going to do this. In Virginia, we want our rights and freedoms back. We're not going to adhere to this just because our school says we have to mask up. We're done with this nonsense. So I'm just really happy because, you know, what we're seeing right now going on with the truckers in Canada, we talked about we're going to be talking about, I guess, the OSHA mandate being struck down as well. And, you know, we're making the right moves as a world. I would say globally, we're winning, the people are winning, and people are standing up. And so even high schoolers in Virginia are pushing back. I love to see it.
Yeah. As far as Supreme Court goes, I'm kind of to the point where I would just like for the Democrats to just continue using these intersectionality checkboxes to make their decisions because it's working out so poorly for them. I'm like, you know what? That's totally fine. I have absolutely no problem with that. All right, let's actually get to, really quickly, let's get to this, the story you alluded to, Savanah, and then we may have to take a quick break and come back to it. But I want to get to the story of the day that leads to the wonderful coverage that you did over in D.C., but it is the Biden administration is officially withdrawing its workplace COVID-19 vaccine or test mandate. This is effective today in response to the earlier Supreme Court ruling that was blocking this directive that, you know, we talked about it, we covered it, but it was supposed to be done through OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, which, again, is a weird one. Joe Biden politicizing all of these weird agencies, like the CDC is supposed to ban landlords from collecting rent, and OSHA is. I think you were here last time. Okay. Wow, that's crazy.
It's all come full circle.
It's really sad that happens that often in the news. That it's like Carol Roth comes twice a year, and every time she's here, we talk about the way that the Biden administration is abusing its power. That's cool. But they are withdrawing this testing. Vaccination and testing, ETS, and, you know, OSHA saying we strongly encourage vaccination of workers against the continuing dangers posed by COVID-19 in the workplace. But it appears that they, at least for now, are backing off of this, as we at the table know to be an unconstitutional mandate. Carol.
Yeah, well, and honestly, they really need to, because if you look at the number of jobs that we have that are unfilled, almost 11 million in this country, you can't afford to have a large swath of the population now be ineligible to work because they haven't been vaccinated for whatever their reason happens to be. I mean, it's an absolute state of insanity.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you mentioned that. It's really like your whole entire country has jumped the shark when you have unvaccinated healthcare workers being fired so that vaccinated COVID-positive patients can come take care of other people. That's a head scratcher.
And don't forget, too, that the traveling nurses that were needed at these hospitals that were so severely short-staffed, they didn't have to be vaccinated, by the way, even though other nurses, you know, who got fired from said hospitals, they got fired because they weren't vaccinated.
It's all science. This is all science-based. We're just following the science. But that's the crazy thing. So you have these frontline workers who worked the entire pandemic when there wasn't a vaccine, found a way to keep themselves safe, whether they were a nurse or somebody bagging your groceries. And now, I'm sorry, you can't have a job anymore because the government says so. You're no longer essential. Thank you for playing.
Yeah.
The crazy thing about what they're trying to do, and Biden even admitted as much about this OSHA thing back when he first announced it, is that they knew that it was unconstitutional.
Correct.
But they just decided to use and this is modern leftism. I mean, this is even leftism going back to Woodrow Wilson, is they knew they couldn't get certain things done because of the Constitution. So instead, let's just use this overly bloated bureaucracy to try and get it done instead. But just think about that mindset for a second. That's the political power that controls every branch of government right now. Their mindset is, look, we know that what we want to do is not constitutional. We know that. But screw it, we're doing it anyway through this. We'll see if we can get away with it. maybe the Supreme Court will step in. I don't know. Maybe we'll just start
maybe
forcing some justices to leave so that we can continue to get this done.
Right.
That's what that's all about.
The worst part about it, though, is that when you become president, you take an oath to uphold the Constitution. So the fact that you are knowingly saying, I know this isn't constitutional, I'm pushing for it anyway, where's the fortitude everyone else has to say, that might be an impeachable offense. That's something that we should hold people to task for. We have had our constitutional rights trampled on, jumped up and down, like in a way I've never seen before in the last couple of years, and there's no fortitude to actually do something about it.
The left would have tried to impeach. They would have tried to impeach. I mean, it's way past time that the other side starts playing by the same rules. In fact, whoever is the new nominee for Supreme Court, I think he might have raped me at a party. I don't think there were witnesses. I personally
can't really remember all of the details.
Don't remember all the details.
You might have made it up right now, but that's fine. We need to go to court about it.
Still, though, you should believe me because believe all Jasons.
We definitely need a hearing.
Start the hashtag right now.
All right. When we come back, a look at the Defeat the Mandate rally that our very own Savanah Hernandez attended. She'll give us the scoop. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Omega XL. So if you're just living in constant pain, maybe you've reached the age that I have, where you just wake up in the morning and you're trying to get out of the bed and you turn the wrong way and you're like, well, I threw my back out. That's cool. You don't want to do that, all right? What a lot of people don't realize is if you have arthritis, if you have neck problems, if you have knee problems, whatever the case may be, it's usually inflammation that is causing that pain. So if you're taking you're rubbing a topical cream all over your shoulder or wherever your trouble parts are, it's actually just masking the problem. It's not getting to the root cause. All right, you got to take Omega XL. It is made from an essential fatty acid combination of the waters of New Zealand, which I know there are a lot of, I'm going to say primarily men out there. I'm going to be a little sexist for a second. Most men are like, it's natural. It can't work. No, it does. All right, it's backed by 20, 30 years of clinical research. I've used it. It works for me. It's worked for our very own Pat Gray. He was having elbow problems, and everything was completely gone within 2 weeks, getting drastically better within 4 days to a week. So you can get out of pain. It can be life-changing. Order a bottle of Omega XL now. Get a second bottle for free over at omegaxl.com/news. That is omegaxl.com/news. YouTube has strict community guidelines over what we can and cannot say about COVID-19, vaccines, and treatments. If YouTube deems we've somehow violated these guidelines, we risk YouTube cutting off our ability to communicate to you. With that said, the discussions which follow are not meant to provide medical advice. Please seek the advice of local health officials for any COVID-19 and/or COVID vaccine-related questions and concerns. As I mentioned before the break, Savanah going out there doing the work that nobody else wants to do, which is now the Defeat the Mandate rally, I'm sure was very inspiring.
Amazing to cover. Loved the rally.
But it's the other people, the counter protesters, that you got to be careful of.
Now, normally, Sarah, and I've talked about how I've gone and I've covered Black Lives Matter, Antifa protests and rallies. Those are usually pretty dangerous, and there's big numbers, right? But at this rally, the Defeat the Mandates rally, there were thousands in attendance, beautiful scene, great patriotic energy, everyone there to fight for their constitutional rights and freedoms. There were about 10 pro-mandate protesters there to protest this.
Wow.
So the numbers there of BLM and Antifa members who were trying to fight back against this movement, there was about 10 of them. I somehow found them. They were just as crazy as you would imagine, but yeah.
Yeah, so I want to play a couple of these because you ran into some, I'm just going to say some big weirdos, all right?
Yeah.
So let's play a woman, and I want to get your reaction on this, Savanah, before we go to the next clip. A woman who, she is itching to get more boosters, I guess. Watch.
Now, would you be interested in talking to me about why it's important that you're protesting this today?
Because I'm not a selfish person who thinks it's all about me. If we could get a 90% herd immunity, not natural immunity, we could get back to our lives.
Are you vaccinated?
I am double vaccinated and boosted.
How many booster shots are you willing to get?
As many as it takes.
So like 10, 20, 30?
Many as it takes, because I'm not a selfish bastard. I want to get back to my life. So if it takes 10, I am going to take 10.
What if they never let you get back to your life, though?
I'm not a selfish bastard. I want to get back to my life. If everybody would just
No critical
cooperate
thinking
and
there.
do what it needs to do, we would have been out of this a year ago. But now we're gonna be 3 years, 4 years, and 5 years because of a set of selfish, self-righteous jackasses.
You know,
And scene.
yeah, you know, it's weird because I feel like when we're talking about the concept of selfishness, I feel like it would be selfish to expect other people, total strangers, to inject themselves with something because it makes me feel more comfortable. I feel like that would be the selfish perspective if we're talking about selfish and not selfish.
Exactly. And you know what, Sarah? It took me everything in my body not to laugh while I was interviewing this woman because I was like, you know what? I'm going to be nice. I'm a journalist here, neutral reporter. But it's hard not to laugh when they're like, I will take 10 boosters if that's what it takes to get back to my life. I love the government so much. And when the government gives me my freedoms and rights back, that's when it will be enough. And it's like, man. So you're never getting your freedoms back. You understand that, right? And I'm not going to push back against these people because, like I said, there's only 10 of them, but they will mob you. They're crazy.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to get attacked, so I kind of just pushed back a little bit. But it's just so interesting, just the cognitive dissonance. You can see it in the beginning of the clip. She puts her mask on to pretend to be scared of me. And by the way, they're at an event with thousands of people, right? Unmasked, screaming into the ether about how dangerous it is. And it's like, if you're that scared, why are you here, first off? And then, of course, because she has to have her 5 minutes of fame, and also because she knows she can't speak through a mask, she takes it right back down. And I'm like, ma'am.
Yeah, this is all, it's almost like this is all political theater. All right, we've got one more here, and I want to open the floor for you guys to pipe in on this as well. So this is, Savanah, you mentioned the term cognitive dissonance, and that's actually, I'm glad that you said that. It was literally the term that I was about to use, especially for this next one too, because it's like, yes, the vaccine hurt me, it injured me, but I'm still going to take another one. That's what this one is. Watch.
I mean, I got dead family members. I just don't want to be the one that's responsible to passing it to someone that dies.
Are you vaccinated?
Yeah.
Are you boosted?
I even have, recovering from a vaccine injury, but I'll still get the booster as soon as I'm healed.
How many boosters are you going to get?
As many as you have to.
I'm still going to get the injury as soon as it heals. That sounds like a solid plan.
I wish anyone had as much faith in me as these two women have in boosters. If you could just find one person in your life to have that much faith in you, what an amazing feeling
You'd
that
be
would
unstoppable.
I really would be. I really would be. That's pretty incredible.
It's frightening.
Yeah.
I'm amazed. Okay, just take the people that watch, like our audience. So if you ask them about, transmission, but, that people that are vaccinated and boosted, if they can still catch the virus, if they can still get sick, answer is yes. And if they can transmit it to other people, the answer is yes. But these people, they seem like they've never heard that ever. Like they don't know that.
Right.
And
they just don't know this information.
Is that at that rally there was speakers over loudspeakers. So if they had just listened to the speakers who were there in attendance, you had Dr. Robert Malone, Dr. Peter McCullough, that were talking about all of these things, they're completely deaf to all of that. So it's like, hey, why don't you actually listen to the people at the event? Like everything you're talking about was available to them right there, but they were protesting it and they refused to listen.
Well, and you could say that they would say, oh, anyone who talked at that event was a quack, but you also have the CDC director herself saying these things, that it doesn't stop transmission, it doesn't stop you from catching it, which defeats the entire purpose of a mandate.
Yeah, the crazy part to me is the people who are double vaxxed, one or more boosted, probably have 5 masks on, are the ones who are the most afraid of getting the virus.
Yeah.
So if you didn't think that those things were going to help you, why are you doing that? I mean, that's really sad. I mean, I know we all kind of laugh because it's silly, but it's kind of sad that there's been that much fear instilled in Americans, and they've been able to like basically capture their psyche and create mass crazy in such a short period of time for something where, you could just look at the data and connect like A and B, and it's pretty obvious.
So this also scares me. Just the way they view the world, they view the country, and they view what should happen in situations like this is vastly different than say like like me,
Right.
and everyone here, I'm
Right.
sure. But
you mean the reasonable people?
the reasonable people, like it doesn't matter even if you're moderate or what. Like I don't know where you have to go to actually go to a place in Washington D.C. They're saying, hey, the government can't force us to do this, and they're saying, no, the government needs to be able to force you to do this.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Like so I'm in like a bunch of groups with like a bunch of big time nerds, like foreign policy.
What?
Yeah, I know.
I'm shocked.
That
Totally
sounds fun.
shocking.
You guys play Dungeons and Dragons too? Yeah, like my people.
So they were all making, they were talking in this very intellectual way.
Right.
They thought they were just so smart. And they were like, oh my gosh, like China, they're the ones that are out for the individuals. They're the individual society.
Yes.
They're like, America's more like the collective society because we collectively are selfish.
Right.
And I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? And I was like, guy, because they're like, yeah, like China's for the common good. That's about individuality. Oh. And I'm like, how many authoritarians in the world have ever used the common good to force, things onto you and to take away your freedoms?
Yeah.
I was like, Western-style democracy is about prioritizing personal freedom, which, by the way, is not an easy thing.
Right.
Freedom is not easy.
Right.
But it says
It's
you
messy.
can't force me to do things.
Yeah.
We think that is oppressive. Blew their minds. Right? Like I saw a bunch of you see the three little blue dots and they disappear, disappear, disappear. Literally, they don't think that way.
Yeah.
That is the divide in this country right now. And it's kind of frightening.
And the approach to risk. I have this saying, which I'm sure if you're an insurance person, you probably said it before me, but your risk mitigation is a strategy. Risk elimination is a fantasy. There is no such thing as entirely eliminating risk from your life. So we have to figure out ways to mitigate it and to live among it. And the fact that people are like, no, until this thing goes away, like, I'm not changing. And it's like, well, guess what? You're going to be doing this until the end of time.
Right.
And
Savannah, last word
it
on
makes me
this.
so sad because I realize that a lot of these people and this stark divide between the two Americas, if you will, pro-freedom, pro-government tyranny, is they've been targeted by government propaganda so severely that they're willing to give up their rights, their freedoms for security. They've been lied to for the past 2 years so severely that they will come up to you and physically abuse you if you're not wearing a face mask, if you're not bending the knee, if you're not capitulating and giving up your rights to the government. So I used to get super angry at people for telling me to put masks on. Now I'm like, I'm so sorry that you've been targeted by the government and that you are living in fear and you've been so manipulated.
Yeah, well, that's a better way to look at it.
And they
than I
pulled
do.
down their mask to tell you that.
Yeah.
And don't put your mask on.
Yeah.
Please do it now.
Every time.
Oh my gosh, it kills me. All right, we've got more to come. First, we want to thank our sponsor, the segment Built Bar. So Built Bar is there for those of you who are trying not to pack on the pounds this year. Maybe you have some weight to lose, but you're looking for a good way to do it because you have a sweet tooth. I know there are so many of us out there who you're like constantly craving things. There are a lot of you working from home. Maybe you're visiting the pantry every 5 seconds. Like, I'm bored. I want to eat. That's like what my 9-year-old does. We're to that point. I'm like, why are you in the pantry? You just ate. I don't know. I'm bored. Get out of the pantry. You're not hungry. Built Bar is there for those of you, adults, who are like that, but you don't want to pack on the pounds eating candy bars or things that you know you shouldn't be eating. It is a protein bar, but it's all covered in 100% chocolate, and it's low in calories, 180 calories or less, 18 grams of protein usually, 4 to 5 grams of sugar, 4 to 5 net carbs. So you know that you are eating something that you can feel good about. You may feel like you eat it and you're like, this tastes too good. I feel like I should feel guilty about this. No, you don't have to, all right? You can go to built.com, use promo code NEWS15. You'll save 15% off of your order. That is NEWS15 over at built.com. The United States supply of computer chips has reached such alarmingly low levels that a bunch of American manufacturers are now apparently, they may be shutting down. This is from the Biden administration. They say that so this is how it works. I'm very unfamiliar with how chips work because I'm not a nerd like Jason. Maybe he understands it a little bit better.
Potato chips? We can talk about that all day
Well,
long.
that's fair. You are an expert at that as well. But so these American companies that use semiconductors, so these are like automakers, medical device manufacturers, a bunch of electronic device producers, they use chips in all of their products. They have just 5 days of inventory on shelves. This is compared to 40 days of inventory in 2019. Obviously, this is, amid all of this supply chain crisis that we've talked about multiple times on the show. And this was uncovered in a report released by the Department of Commerce called, golly, this has got to be a boring job. Risks in the Semiconductor Supply Chain. That's the name of the report.
I fell asleep as soon as you.
I feel attacked. I feel attacked.
I'm sorry, Carol. But you and Jason are doing the boring work that none of us
That's
want.
like
We're
a
trying to
job
make
I
it
would have gotten
interesting.
straight
We're trying to
up.
make it interesting. So here's the problem. The problem is that all of these idiot manufacturers decide to make everything electronically based that we don't need. Like, I don't need a refrigerator that like tells me jokes or a microwave that, plays my favorite Aerosmith song. Like, we don't need these things. Like, let's go
we
back.
might actually need that. That's
Well,
kinda
okay.
cool. Waking up to crying when I'm like warming up my coffee is kind of good.
Live in a microwave. But like, we don't need these. So like, let's rethink and maybe go a little bit more analog. All of this overdependence on technology and digital is not serving us particularly well. And the answer isn't make more chips. It's dial it back a little bit.
Yeah, I like that, Jason.
I think the world's biggest chip supplier is Taiwan, I believe. China's up there, but we're falling way behind. But this is a serious thing. So personal stories, like my mom actually gave me a call and she's like, I can't believe this, but the car manufacturer, like I don't know, Chevy, whatever it was, called her and was like, hey, we'd love to give you X amount of dollars. They gave her almost full price for like a 10-year-old car.
Yeah.
Wow.
You talk about like the high cost of used cars right now. This is a big factor.
Yeah.
You saw my new bike. It's dope, right?
Yeah, it's great.
So the reason I got that is because they called me as well.
No
Out
way.
of the blue. And we're like, hey, this is what we'll give you. Basically almost full price for a 4-year-old bike. And so I got another bike. But I had a conversation with the guys down there and like, yeah, it's hitting motorcycle dealers like Harley, Indian, all the auto insurance. Like right now we should have the full, we should have 30 to 40 of the 22 lineups out here on the floor. Mm-hmm. They had like 2. So they're like, we have nothing to sell.
Yeah.
So they're calling all these people, giving a ton of money and then selling a ton of money so that they have something to sell on the floor.
Yeah, here's a wealth creation opportunity for the viewers. I mean, if you have maybe an extra car that your teenager uses or one that's not being used as much in the family, now is the time to get rid of it, to lock in that used car price, get that extra money, and then just wait this out, which eventually it will come back, and then go into the market then. But that's a really good opportunity. If you have a car that isn't absolutely necessary, you're going to maximize your value by selling it now.
Carol, all I'll say is I've been saving up for a car for the past 4 years, and I picked a hell of a year to buy a used car. I'm waiting 4 more years. I'm waiting 4 more years.
I'll sell you mine. I'll sell you the same price.
So what's the alternative? Is it like a powder puff bike, or like what are you doing instead?
I'm just driving my
running
same
it into
car.
the ground.
Yeah, you know what? I had money in the stocks and crypto, and I was just saving up my money, getting ready to make some big purchases, and then the Joe Biden supply chain hit, and here I am trying to live in America with these prices.
I'll tell you something, Savanah, as somebody who wants to make you wealthier. Just hold out as long as possible. I drive a 2004 that I bought in 2003, and I will drive it until it stops working, because it is a depreciating asset, and you want to get assets that increase in value. So I'd rather see you enter the stock market and do those kinds of things than waste it on a car.
Yeah, now's a good time to buy into the stock market, I've heard.
Yes, we had a little rough start to the year in the stock market.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
All right, you know what? I've got a couple more things I want to get into, but let's go ahead and let's take a quick break, and we'll get into those after the break. We'll be back. So the Biden administration this week is finally delivering on the promise to send at-home, well, they say free at-home COVID tests. We all know that they are not free, but they're sending these at-home COVID tests to Americans. A lot of Americans started realizing something very interesting whenever they turned over the box. It's just that they're made in China. So that's really good. I mean, hey, the virus is made in China too, so it's only proper, I guess, that the test is made at the same place. But we have a tweet from Beth Bowman, got my free COVID test. What a joke. Not only are they made in China, but the sealed tube was open and went everywhere. Theoretically, I could only use one test because of the lack of solution. Am I surprised? No. No, I'm not surprised. These are tests that are manufactured by iHealth Labs. The company is headquartered in California, but that didn't stop them from manufacturing everything in China. Carol, I feel like you might have some insight on this.
Well, I mean, like you said, who knows more about the virus than the people in China? So it only makes sense that they would be the ones to be able to detect this. It just goes to show the over-reliance of our supply chain on China, the fact that we're going to make a deal with a wink, wink, American company, but then they're going to go to China for the sourcing. I'm actually surprised, given all of the different issues that we have, particularly with the supply chain, how expensive it is to ship things over, if you can even get a container, that we were able to do this. But again, it's the taxpayer dollars, so no expense spared on that.
Yeah, right. No kidding.
And weren't they just handing out N95 masks to Congress that were also made in China? That also happened last week. And more importantly, why are we still doing these COVID tests? What is the point of this? It's absolutely ridiculous. We are 2 years into this. We all know that COVID is an everyday part of life. It's a virus that's never going to go away. If you are sick, stay home. It's ridiculous that we're still testing people like this.
Well, especially with the false positives that exist. And we know that they exist if you have other viruses that may be similar.
This is crazy because the story is reminding me of, we covered this on something probably a year ago or something, but China were actually pretty much admitted that their tests weren't really effective, so they were having to do these anal swab tests because those can be because those have been so
they're bringing those back. Those are back in fashion, right in time for the Olympics. Yes.
Yeah, didn't they anally swab some of our U.S. diplomats and then they were like, "Oh, that was an accident."
Yeah. Wait, so which are these tests? Are these the anal swab tests? Are
No,
these like the
those
nose?
are not the at-home.
The nose rape tests.
Yeah, I think these are the nasal swab, and then you put it in the solution, and it
the ones
gives
that
you
weren't very accurate, so they had to go to the others.
Right.
Well,
yeah.
I mean,
it
people
looks like
can't
a
even figure out how to vote. How are they going to get a collection out of their nose? I mean, come on.
Well, I mean, Savanah, to go back to your point, it's like if you have a runny nose and no fever and no, maybe you should just not be a little bitch and ride it out. I don't know.
Exactly.
I mean, I was at urgent care when I threw my back out and I literally could not move. And we were like, I don't know what I need. Maybe I need heroin. I'm not sure. But I just need something so that I could not be in constant pain. And when we were in there checking in, there was another lady who came in. And I mean, she seemed fine and she was walking about just fine. And her hair was done and her makeup was done. And they were like, what are you coming in for? And she just said, congestion. And I was like, I don't really.
When has that ever been a thing?
Sarah,
urgent care for congestion?
I have a friend who's a nurse, and that's what she was telling me. She was telling me that people, after COVID came out over the past 2 years, will go into the hospital for anything. They will have a cold, and they'll go into the hospital, and they're like, put me in a bed. It's done.
Because they're scared, because they've frightened these people into like a complete state of being a hypochondriac.
Yep.
Here's the thing. If you are sick, I don't care if it's COVID. I don't care if it's the flu. Like, if you got nasty germs, like, nobody wants that crud.
Right.
Just please stay home. It's just not that difficult.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, I feel like as society, we've done that for many, many years.
No, you don't travel that much. I've had people on planes next to me all the time with their, entire medicine cabinet, whatever.
Well, that's pretty
So
gross.
I can tell you that there are people of this country before COVID did not stay home when they were sick. Hopefully this is a learning experience.
Well, I don't travel very much. And I must know the right people because I'm like, when we have the flu, we just stay home. Like,
that's when, Carol, you just have to OD on vitamin C and hope for the best.
I do. I'm down with my zinc and my C and whatever. But every once in a while, you see that person and they've got that medicine cabinet with them, and you're like, I know I'm going to be sitting next to them, and I always am.
Yeah. All right. I want to go to Jason. You mentioned it off air between the break. Is just in breaking news today, guys. This afternoon, Spotify has decided they will be pulling Neil Young's music after he issued the ultimatum letter demanding that Joe Rogan be removed from their platform. I am shocked. I'm shocked because, Joe Rogan just has, 11 million listeners per episode. That's 200 million
the
people
most popular
who listen
podcast in the country
ever. Yeah. And then there's Neil Young.
What was he thinking? I'm sure I would love to have been the Spotify people. They're like, quick, pull up the numbers on how many times the last time Old Man was streamed. And they're like, 32 years ago?
Yeah,
I have the numbers because I'm a loser and this is what I do. But I heard it was 6 million streams versus something like
200 million.
Yeah, something like that for Joe.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So the contest there, if you're just going by the numbers, and again, the song lasts for like a couple minutes. Joe Rogan's podcast lasts for like 10 years, something like that. So in terms of the number of minutes that you're sucking somebody in with the Joe Rogan, just on a pure cost-benefit analysis, like you weren't going to win that fight. And I don't understand, because I heard that he didn't have the rights to them anyway. So he's just like, I'm just going to throw this out there. It doesn't even impact me, but like nobody's heard my name and I need a couple of minutes. So I'm just going to go after Joe Rogan.
Half of America right now is like, who is Neil Young?
I legitimately, I got him confused with Neil Diamond, but then neither of them I really knew who sung what.
No,
so
truly,
I was like,
what is Neil Young's most popular song?
Is it Rockin' in the Free World? Maybe, which
maybe.
is hilarious if it is. The
Yeah,
free
Rockin'
world,
in the
right?
World.
Yeah, the
That's
irony
right.
of irony.
Is
But
it really? I don't even, I could not even like come
I feel
up
like
with
he's one of those that, like, if
part
you
of that song in
heard
my
the
head.
song, you'd be like, "Oh yeah, I didn't know it was that guy."
Right,
like
he's
you know,
one of those.
He's like, you know how Don Cheadle's in like every movie, but you can't name
Yeah.
which movie. It's like the same thing where it's got a
Yeah.
lot of music, but you're not really sure which ones are.
Yeah.
included.
There was a collection of those guys, like Cat Stevens and a bunch of other guys.
Well, he's the Cats in the Cradle guy because he makes everyone cry. Yeah, so we know him.
But they were like they were the hippies back in the day, kind of like they were the anti-establishment, screw the government.
Rage Against
Now
the
they're
Machine.
exactly opposite.
Yeah, how
It's
did
the
that
weird-
happen?
I don't know.
What happened to hippies?
How did all the liberals become pro-big government? When did that happen?
Anti-art, anti-free speech,
Yep.
anti-anything that pushed the
the weirdest
envelope.
thing.
It is really odd.
It's so well. I mean, you said Rage Against the Machine, like literally the band Rage Against the Machine.
They're raging for the machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Double speak.
Very strange.
By the way, we don't have time to play the clip, but I would just like to give everyone bad news. Nancy Pelosi has announced her re-election bid for 2022, and she says that look, in the arena you have to be able to take a punch or throw a punch. For the children. You gotta do it for the children.
That is
everyone.
a great
That's
impression.
amazing.
So unfortunately, the rumors that surfaced earlier
They're
are not
hilarious.
true.
They're like, you know that game where you add in bed after everything you say and it's hilarious?
Yeah.
They're like, for the Democrats, it's, say this, but add in for the children.
For the children,
After and we're totally cool.
Or for our democracy.
or for the,
And you have to watch the clip because it's like Mr. Rogers on crack. You know, it's got the beautiful day in the neighborhood, but then Nancy's in the middle talking about the children, and there's no, cardigan or anything involved, and it's very weird.
Hey, at least your eyebrows went back to normal in that clip. They weren't up here.
Okay, you know what? Okay, Control, do we still have time if we take a break now? Okay, all right, let's take a break now and we'll come back and watch it.
We twisted your arm into that.
When people ask me what are the 3 most important issues facing the Congress, I always say the same thing. Our children, our children, our children. Their health, their education, the housing and economic security of their families, a clean, safe environment in which they can thrive, and a world at peace and where they are all welcome and in which they can reach their fulfillment. That is my why I am in Congress. For the children. This is my story, and this is my song.
This is a
As you hear me say,
this is not real.
When you're in the arena, you have to be able to take a punch or throw a punch for the children.
This is not real.
Nothing less is at stake than our democracy.
I'm more focused on her trying to keep her
Right,
dentures
as we
in.
say, we don't agonize, we organize. And that is why I am running for re-election to Congress and
For the
respectfully seek your support.
So
That's not real. That's not real.
It's real life is beyond parody right now. She's like, did you notice every time she repeated for the children, she smiled really big. She was like, that's why I'm running for Congress. For the children. For the children. But it's weird because I feel like if you are that much for the children, which I totally support if you are for the children, I feel like you would at least want them to be born.
Yeah.
So that then they could live out and fulfill all of these things that Nancy is saying.
That's an important step, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, well, look, the sad part is I don't think she's going to have a problem getting reelected.
How many times did she say for the children Did we count that?
We should count it.
I was just looking for Hansel and Gretel and telling them to stay away from the oven because she looked like she was about, where are the here, children? Come look.
Come into my oven, children.
All right, make sure you follow all of these lovely people and get the book, The War on Small Business. Thank you guys so much.